Hello everyone, this is Genius Yoshi, and today we've gotten some new spoilers for Rise of the Floodborn. Let's go over them all and give them a star rating and review their abilities. First off, we have I'm Stuck, a one-costed inkable action that says chosen exerted character can't ready at the start of the next turn. I don't value that effect at one card. Even though the ink cost is cheap, the fact that you have to pay an entire card for that effect is pretty weak. If the opponent's character is exerted, then I'd much rather just take it out by combat and ideally have a character to live to tell the tale, something like a Rafiki or something. So I don't think I'm Stuck is going to see much play. I'm going to give it a 2-star rating. Next up, we have Flynn Rider, Confident Vagabond, a 1-3 for 1 quest for 1. We have these in other ink types and they're not really getting played, so now that we're getting double the amount of cards, it's going to see even less play and it's going to deserve its 1-star rating. Next up, we have Cogsworth, Talking Clock, 2-3 for 2 quests for 1. And wait a minute, your characters with Reckless have the ability to gain 1 lore and exert themselves. Now, to gain 1 lore is very minor. The main part of this effect is your Reckless characters don't have to attack. And, well, on the 2-3 body, it's an okay effect to have. It's pretty much only applicable with Gaston or Maui, but sometimes the opponent's going to set a trap, maybe with the new bell, trying to bait you or force you into attacking into their powerful effect. Cogsworth allows you to say, no, 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 I'm not the one attacking, I'm going to exert my characters and prevent a bad challenge. You can do the bad challenge on your turn. Okay, it's not a great ability, but a 2-3 for 2 is already serviceable, and this is just a little bonus ability. Not as good as Simba, might see some play, especially because we can shift the bigger Cogsworth on top of this talking clock. It's okay. Next up, speaking of the big Cogsworth, here we have it, the Grandfather Clock, a 2-5 for 5 quests for 2. So that's an okay stats line, kind of like Jasmine, Queen of Agrabah. Shifts 3, can shift on top of the smaller Cogsworth. Then the abilities are Candy. Ward, very strong on a 5-drop, can be targeted by anything except a challenge. And Unwind, your other characters gain Resist 1. This is very strong, so Resist 1 across the board basically nullifies Tinkerbell's ping. It makes Grab Your Sword half as effective or twice as ineffective. Basically, it makes one of the best board wipes in the game become very weak. Now that's a strong ability. Not to mention that through all combat, all of your other characters will take 1 less damage. And there's nothing that prevents you from having multiple resists. So if you have 2 Cogworks into play, then you're taking 2 less damage and you can, well, do a ton of things. And your opponent can't do much to stop it because your Cogsworth have Ward. Overall, I think it's a very strong card. It's going to be a nice inclusion as an inkable 5-drop, which is a nice spot for flex cards. So I'm going to give this card a 4-star rating. Next up, we have the Prince Who Never Gives Up, a 1-3 for 3 quest for 2 with Bodyguard and Resist 1. So he kind of acts like a 1-4, but really if he survives 1 damage or 1 round of damage, then he's more than 1-4, maybe closer to 1-5. And he's immune to these little Tinkerbell or Hans pings, which is pretty nice. Now, Bodyguard is also pretty decent on the 3-drop that can quest for 2, since it allows you to apply some pressure with the Prince, with the 2 quest, while protecting your Lilo or Maleficent that's behind and just getting more questing value. So the Prince is going to be more of an aggressive card, kind of similar to Hercules, except the questing for 2 is actually a big deal. And I can see it included in certain aggro lists. Not the strongest card in land, but well deserving of a 3-star rating. We then look at Bounce, a 2-costed action, not inkable, unfortunately. That states return chosen character of yours to your hand and another one to their owner's hand, either one of yours or one of your opponents. This is mostly going to be used as a removal for value. Bounce your Mickey Mouse Detective, that you played on turn 3 and punt away one of your opponent's bigger threats, like a Rafiki or a 4-drop, or even bigger drop if your opponent has one on the battlefield. And there's very few cheap removals right now in Lorcana, so bounce is pretty decent. The only downside is you need to have something that you want to bounce, so either something really cheap that you can just play right away, and the differential in ink is going to give you a big tempo advantage, or something that's beneficial to bounce back into your hand and it has this nice enter the battlefield ability, or you can use it just to heal one of your characters and play it again at full health on the next turn, or the same turn if you have enough ink. It's a good card. The fact that it's non-inkable and that you need a specific situation makes it go down a bit on my rating, but because we lack a lot of good cheap removal spells, I'm still going to give this card a 3-star rating. Last but not least, we have these 4 cards that have been revealed today as part of a tweet on Lorcana that displays the new rulebook. We only have partial information, but we can still deduce what the cards are going to do. On the far right, we have Cinderella, Knight in Training, a 2/2 for 2. When you play this character, you may draw a card, then choose and discard a card. This is the same effect as Simba, except you're paying 1 more ink and you get 1 more power. I think I prefer Simba just for cheaper cost for that ability, but Cinderella has the princess typing going for her. It's not great, so I'm probably going to give her a 2-star rating for mild utility. You can also play her with Simba if you want a lot of this draw discard type of effect to dig deep for a card you're looking for. To her left, we have Bucky, the Squirrel Squeak Tutor, an inkable 2-drop with ward with unknown stats line. Let's imagine Bucky as a 1/1. It's going to be between a 1/1 and a 2/2, I'm pretty sure, because it has a ward. So it can't be a pure upgrade over Aladdin Prince Ali. So I figure less than a 2/2 at the very least. But let's imagine 1/1. Its ability says that whenever you play a Floodborn character, I imagine, each opponent chooses and discards a card. Now that's a pretty strong ability. Of note, when you first play Bucky, you just get a body on the battlefield, but you do get a body which can quest, which can challenge. It's good to have a character in play. Especially with ward, it's going to be hard to remove. Then if you play a second Bucky, the ability doesn't trigger, because Bucky is not a Floodborn, which is quite important, so they don't stack that well. But with Bucky in play, if you play a Floodborn 3-drop, Floodborn 4-drop, then you've gotten an effect of Have You Forgotten Me for the cost of 2, which is inkable, and you've still been on curve playing a character every turn. Also, with Bucky on the board, your opponent might be forced to make some bad decisions to try and get cards out of their hand or to keep more cards in their hand, as you always have the threat of multicasting during your turn. Playing a pair of Floodborn characters can catch your opponent off guard, forcing them to discard multiple cards. Overall, I'd say Bucky is worth a 4-star rating and is going to be quite important in some decks, especially since it's an inkable 2-drop. There's very low cost to playing some Buckies in your deck, as long as you have enough Floodboards to support it. Next we have Minnie Mouse, the Wide-Eyed Diver, with Shift 2, as a 4-costed inkable with Evasive. Already lots of abilities. We don't know her stats live, but I assume that her stats are going to be fairly low. Something like a 1/3, maybe a 2/3. She's not really made for combat. Mostly because her ability says that whenever you play some kind of action in a turn, this character gets +2 lore until end of turn. So +2 questing ability is very powerful. Very, very powerful if it stacks. Which is why it's so intriguing to figure out what is that hidden clause that's right behind Bucky, and probably about 6 characters wide at most. It could be a Ruby action, it could be a Song action, could be a unique action, maybe? Do we have enough space to fit unique? Maybe it's just an action? Although that's unlikely, because on the second line, I expect this character gets +2 this turn. So there's at least 4 characters hidden, and the period to end it. So unique would fit on the first line and would prevent some degenerate combos. But still, with the presence of Develop Your Brain, you can have a lot of cheap actions and pump that Minnie Mouse's lore or questing ability quite a lot. So I think Minnie Mouse is actually going to be pretty good, especially since she's evasive with that ability, meaning that she's going to be difficult to remove from your opponent. Hence, she must have some weak stats line and be prone to pinging type removal. But unless your opponent has that removal handy, Minnie Mouse can do some serious damage. And I'm going to give her a 4-star rating, assuming that the keyword that we're missing is unique action in a turn to prevent these degenerate combos. But once we get the actual stats and the actual keywords, we can reevaluate the card, but I think it's going to be pretty strong. Last but not least, we have Robin Hood, the capable fighter. In XX for 2, non-inkable, so there you will be playing your Robin Hood if it's in your deck, and you can exert it to deal 1 damage to anything. We don't have the stats line, but comparing him to Hans is an inkable 4-drop, 3/3, quest for 2 with that ability on questing. So I wouldn't be surprised if Robin Hood was at least 2/2, if not 2/3 with that ability, being non-inkable. I think it's a fine ability, especially good for taking out Lilos or 1-drop Maleficence. But Robin Hood, to be good, he needs some stats. So for now, I'm going to assume he's a 2/3 and give him a 3-star rating. I hope that you've enjoyed my review of the new spoilers for Lorcana, the second set, Rise of the Floodborn. Let me know what you think. Is that mysterious keyword hidden behind Bucky on Minnie Mouse, the diver? I hope that you've enjoyed this video, and I'll see you next time.